How's it going? How's it going? We are just hanging out, getting some lawn care stuff, right? Got to get the lawn looking really nice. Got to get it looking real nice. And starting to come along. Got to get a couple things, but we're gonna get that done here. Gotta get that shit done, dude. I got to, man. I got fucking shit to do. And this wildlife restoration project is a lot, man. Takes a lot out of you. Takes a lot out of you, physically, right? Especially when you're actually doing the work. You're not just using machines, guys, right? That shit ain't easy, man. There ain't nothing fun about it. It's fucking risky, and you're working out in the elements, and yeah, I mean, it's quite literally it's causing you damage, let me put it that way. And so happy to do it, but man, am I gonna be ready to take a fucking break from it, you know what I mean, and just be able to chill and relax, man. Catch up on some things, some much desperately needed things to catch up on. And it's going right. I mean, we're just looking over these arguments, right? And it really is. I mean, City of Wayne's really throwing out all the stops here, right? Really throwing it all out there. And it is wild shit, guys. Wild shit. It is absolute wild shit. And, shit that really should have never happened, right? But that was the response, right? Because when you exercise your First Amendment, as we've seen so many times, I mean, you got to be prepared for everything, because they're going to come for you. They're going to come for you, and they're going to come for you when you least expect it and when you're least prepared, right? And so they're going to come hit you, and you got to weather the storm, of course, right? And then you have to keep your head on a swivel for the rest of your days from there on out, because once you challenge entire power apparatuses, it makes you a pariah, it makes you notorious, and that ultimately leads to, should it be controversial to say that you should follow the Fourth Amendment? Of course not, right? But in today's political climate, it very much is a controversial statement, to have the First Amendment, the Fourth Amendment. Because, see, you understand that is the only thing keeping these animals at bay, right? That's the only thing, right? The First Amendment, the Second, the Fourth, the Fifth, the 14th. Those are the only amendments, really. I mean, I'm not saying the other ones don't matter, but those are the ones that really matter. And those are quite literally the only thing that's keeping these evildoers away from your doorstep, right? Or inside your house walls, right? So it's anyone with eyeballs, right? When you look at those city council meetings, right? Look at the last one, right? All those cops standing there, right? Menacing looks on their face, right? Mr. Finley Carter, right? DEI Carter over there, he's sitting there, giving you smirks and, smiling sadistically at you. Because these people, like I said, there's a reason they're in these positions. There's a reason that they're attracted to this position, this power. And ultimately, guys, it makes perfect sense why they are the way they are and why they do what they do, right? Because a lot of them are narcissists, some of them are sociopaths, some of them are psychopaths, but they're all attracted to that, what do you call, that discretion, right? That unfettered discretion, right? Where they have, basically they can do whatever the fuck they want, right? Just to make it as simple as I can, unfettered discretion and unlimited power, essentially, right? I mean, these people are addicted to it. It's like a drug to them. It's like a crackhead, right? A crackhead has a crack pipe, and all they do is think about smoking crack and how to get another hit. It's really the same thing with these people. And like I said, that little pesky First Amendment there, right? As John Racy famously said, May 19th of 2026, that pesky First Amendment, right? Which again is just a remarkable statement to come from someone who's like exercising their office live, and that is what you get exposed to. You get your rights violated, first of all, right? You get thrown out of a public meeting because it's the Glaze Fest Awards, right? You got to glaze the police officers, glaze them up, and give them awards for doing very basic shit, right? I mean, we're not talking anything really heroic, right? Oh, they ran towards the church, right? Well, that's their job, right? They acted like they're Medal of Honor recipients, like they did some real shit. And it's like, guys, I mean, I saw like a 9-second video of this heroic shit. Before I could blink, it was over. Well, where did it happen? Well, that's the thing, it didn't, right? That's just the little inconvenience that I, happen to see for myself, right? But you're not allowed to believe your own lying eyes, of course, in Wayne, Michigan. You gotta take what the Wayne Dispatch says, right? You gotta follow it hook, line, and sinker. And any deviation from that has to be, I mean, these are the type of people that would have proceeded over the Salem witch trial, right? These are the type of people. Well, because people people wonder, well, how did the Salem witch trials happen? And how did this shit happen? How did this idea that you could be accused of sorcery, of witchcraft, like how did that become a thing? How could you be accused of being a witch, right? And it's because of the same exact personality types that's in the city of Wayne. The exact same personality types. People that'll look the other way, people that'll just outright lie, people that'll it's boot above all else, guys. It's institution above all else. That's how these people operate. Because ultimately the institution is how they survive, right? And so, their institution is really kind of small and insignificant in the grand scheme of things, and it's really fraudulent. I mean, really, that police department, that's not a real police department. That police department doesn't solve any crimes whatsoever, right? That police department is a fucking joke, right? A sick joke. And, when I can be assaulted on video, May 20th, 2026, by the fire marshal's assistant, right, Lisa Kobani, I can be assaulted on video. And, they supposedly, of course, there's no cameras outside of the building, which, again, you gotta go, well, that's kind of fucking crazy, like that's really fucking crazy. 2026? In 2026 to not have a fucking camera in a parking lot? I mean, that's I forgot. All the money goes to Gowdy Park so they can jerk off their buddy Gowdy, right? Jerk them off and, live the good old days, right? At your expense. At your expense, of course, right? So everything gets diverted to Gowdy Park, right? And, of course, there's no money for anything else because there is no money to begin with. The only money that they have is money that they steal or money that's given to them in a grant, right? But as far as, actually... it's a kind of amazing, right? Like Ford and all these dope shops can be here and there's no money, right? It's kind of fucking mind-blowing if you really think about it. I mean, how could you have 2 Ford factories taking up like a fourth of your city, at least a third of it, really, and you have deficits and your total gross, it's like 8 million, 16 $16 million, right? That should be a quarterly payment by Ford, right? At least for the whole year. Like how are we fucking, well, first of all, here's the thing though, guys. Like here's I'm going to answer your question. The reason that, things are the way they are, and it's not because of more money, right? It's not like, oh, you get more money and the problem gets solved and, boom, 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 right? It's like the amount of money has really nothing to do with it, right? That's not really the relevant part. The relevant part is the expenditures, is the spending. The spending is out of control. The grift is out of control. And that's ultimately why, the city's fucking broke, right? It's because the money's being allocated to the wrong things, right? And so now they're like, oh, well, we need to get new counsel because Bosnick and Miller at GMH Law aren't working. And it's like, no, it's not Bosnick and Miller, right? I mean, yeah, they're shitty attorneys, don't get me wrong. But, Bosnick and Miller are being, put in a pretty much impossible situation, right? They're being asked to do illegal shit and to partake in, look the other way. They're asked to do a lot of really unethical shit. And, most people are just willing to get a paycheck, right? So a lot of people, them included, right? They're willing to do what they're told, right? To an extent, right? I mean, it's like they can only do so much anyways. And really, they've done more than what they should have done. And now it's like, hey, the city of Wayne doesn't want to look in the mirror and go, well, maybe we're the ones being unreasonable here. Maybe we're the ones that took shit too far, and our lawyer isn't the problem so much as it is our actions that we are doing, right? The city of Wayne it's not even a possibility that they could even ponder that sort of question, right? Because in their eyes, because as we all know, narcissists like these people, they can never do any wrong. You understand, right? The narcissist can never do any wrong. The narcissistic city council, the narcissistic city manager, the narcissistic culture can do no wrong, right? So it's not, their argument, of course, is, well, everything was great until McFarlin came to town. And of course, as you guys all know, that's not even remotely the case, right? There was Anthony Miller, John Zook, Mark Blackwell, Chris Sanders, right? There was a lot of people, right? Abraham Hughes, right? And so there were problems. Lisa Nocerini, Ryan Strong, Finley Carter, all these, civil rights violators, right? This hostile workplace assessment, right? So, the culture was already there. It was already, well established, right? Before I ever moved there. I moved to Wayne in 2024, early 2024. And, it really, I mean, literally within weeks of moving in, my rights were violated, by the fire department. And I'd never, I grew up in Montcalm County, Michigan. My best friend growing up, his father was a corrections officer and a volunteer fireman, right? Like several of the, good friends of mine growing up at Central Montcalm Public Schools, firemen, right? And my good buddy to this day, he's a full-time fireman. And I never had, my experience with the fire department has always been positive. People actually doing real shit, and a lot of them are volunteering. They're doing the shit for free, right? So of course it's like, well, that's fucking on par with military service at that. That's probably beyond military service, if I'm being honest. I mean, that's fucking, awesome shit. But this isn't what's occurring in Wayne, right? This is a, fire department that's well funded, it's paid, it's staffed, right? 3 shifts or whatever, 3 shifts, and it's a lot of money, and then you look at it and you go, well, damn, I mean, the city of Wayne's only a few square miles and surrounded by all these big cities, and you're just looking at the geographics of it, and you're like, well, this just kind of seems a little bit redundant. I mean, it seems a little bit, kind of nonsensical if you really, that's putting it nicely. Really it smells of fraud and, money laundering and that sort of thing, right? A way to wash the books and, a way to, I like I said, again, I can't for the life try to comprehend why we have a fire department, a full-time fire department like that. a volunteer fire department, sure. Contracted through the county, through another city, sure, right? But this idea that we need a fully staffed, full-time, ready to go EMS firefighter service, and it's just like there's not enough demand for it, for one. As you guys can see with the problems that, they have too much time on their hands because there really isn't enough work to do. And so basically, they have to like make up work, right? That's why so many of them were able to respond to my property. I mean, they treated that like training, guys. There was so many police and fire department personnel, city personnel on my property, May 9th and May 19th especially. May 19th especially. I mean, there was seemingly several, if not half a dozen or more firefighters, younger, really young looking people chilling in that fire truck. And you're just like, man, it's like this was used as an example, as a training example, right? I mean, this is how disastrous this shit is, right? It's like you guys have that much time on your hands to send that many fucking people over a smoldering log. I'm sorry, but you're not legitimate. You're not. And of course it's not. You look at the budget, you look at the deficit. Well, the deficit we're in now is because we had grifters that convinced naive people, okay, to, adopt the full-time fucking fire department, right? So, there was a millage passed. I don't, remember the exact dates, right? My history is a little fuzzy, but we'll say in the last, 10 or so years, maybe a little bit more, maybe a little bit less, right? Let's say 2018. I don't know what it was, but in the recent history of Wayne, there was a millage voted on, right? Just got to stop the fire and police, right? Got to have a fire and police. Got to have more, right? We need more. That's the solution, right? The solution isn't following the fucking Constitution and employing some common fucking sense and holding bad actors accountable, swiftly accountable, like get them the fuck out, like immediately. You're fired, get lost, you cuck bitch, right? They decide, oh no, we need more fire, we need more police, we need more, right? Because that's the solution in government. More. It's never, let's internally look at what's going on and see where we can hold ourselves accountable, right? And quit the fuck games and the charade and, oh yeah, city manager, what are we managing here? It's a fucking joke, right? Like, it's like, I grew up in a township, right, where, all these positions are volunteer. Like, you might have one full-time person or a couple part-time people. They make a minuscule amount of money, enough just to, justify it, but not enough to, have corruption, right? I don't know. I mean, it really, there's a couple ways the city of Wayne could go, but it can't go how it's going now. Like, this whole fucking system is such a fucking joke. It is such a travesty. And the fact that nobody really wants to get involved, right? Because they see the consequences. They see what happened to Blackwell and McFarlin, and right? So they saw what happened to Zook. I mean, that was undeniable. They saw what happened to his family. They saw what happened to Abraham Hughes. They saw what happened to fucking Chris Sanders, right? I mean, Wayne Dispatch, positive community news, except for Chris Sanders, right? It's just hilarious, right? It's just fucking hilarious. The hypocrisy of it all, right? And then to just be a military college graduate, Army veteran, and I'm just looking at the whole thing going, wow, what are people really fighting for? And why do people put up with this shit? Is what I want to know. Why have people seemingly just given up and seemingly they just decided, is what it is, guys? And it's like, no, it's not. It's fucking not, guys. And I'll show you it's whether I got to do it myself or not, right? I mean, record building is record building. You're helping out the next person. You're helping out the next generation. So, at the end of the day, it's just kind of this defeatist mentality that people have in this country, right? People just have this mentality like, oh, well, bootlick it and hope for the best. And, hopefully they won't come for me if I bootlick them and fawn over them, right? Because you can fight, you can flee, or you can fawn, right? Or you can freeze too, right? I guess that's you have four options: fight, flight, freeze or fawn, right? And seeming like a lot of people just want to fawn over the boot. You know, they want to fawn over the boot and just hope and pray the boot won't for me. You know, and I don't know. I just see a revolution in this country coming. I really do. I hope so. I hope people collectively, nationally, just get fed up with this shit, right? Get fed up with these corrupt ass, illegitimate police departments, these illegitimate, I mean, they're all the same, right? People say, oh, fire department, and it's like, no. I mean, I'm not going to disparage every fireman, right? I'm not going to disparage every police officer personally, right? Because like I said, you know, it's a spectrum, right? It's a spectrum of shitbags, and some are less shitty than others, and some of them are halfway decent, some of them are probably pretty decent, right? I'm sure, but the bottom line is the system does not promote that. The system does not reward that. The system does not condone it. The system does not tolerate, you know, people speaking out and, you know, voicing their opinions and, you know, refusing to follow clearly unconstitutional and unreasonable orders, right? And, you know, everyone just wants to go along to get along because that's the system in which we're in, right? We got to survive. You got to, you know, put some Benjamins on the table to keep the lights on and to, you know, it's illegal to be homeless in Wayne. I mean, if you're homeless, that's vagrancy. That's called a jail sentence. You're gonna go to jail, right? They passed that right before Christmas. How holy, how Christian of them, how Christian and Muslim of Rob Darwich to pass homeless ordinances right before Christmas. So, you know, while people are, you know, fighting to stay alive out in the winter, we'll put them in jail so we give them, you know, a meal, right? Oh, how generous of you guys. You know, you guys are fucking sick, man. So yeah, they criminalize being homeless in Wayne right before Christmas. And then also they pass an open burn ordinance that might as well you just call it the McFarlin ordinance. You know, because I love this current lawsuit that I'm working on, right? The first break-in, right? March 28, 2024, right? Because they're claiming, well, for now they're claiming the open burn policy, that's just internal guidance, right? That's just internal guidance, even though it was posted on the City of Wayne website, right? Even though it was ratified effectively, not legally ratified, but illegally ratified on the city website. You know, it's just amazing to me that now they're claiming, oh, that's just an internal memo, even though that's what they relied upon, you know. Like, the city relied upon it, they relied upon it on July 10th, 2025 in the courtroom. They relied upon it for all the other break-ins, right? May 9th, May 19th, July 5th, right? It was published on the city website throughout this entire time. But now they're claiming that's just a mere internal reference or something, right? That's not our law, right? That's not our authority. Our authority is the International Fire Code, right? Fire Code. And I said, okay, Fire Code. Well, that doesn't sound like an ordinance, statute, or an amendment to me, right? It doesn't sound like a law because, it's not, right? But that apparently they're claiming that they reference that, and that's just simply just not the fucking case at all. Well, they reference it kind of, sort of in the charter. They reference it kind of, sort of in the open burn policy, but it's not like formally adopted in the city charter, or, you know, it's not physically, it's not adopted as an ordinance. And then, of course, even if it was, which it's not, but even if it was, you still got to follow the Fourth Amendment. The Fourth Amendment always applies to the home. And, you know, it's just that simple. I mean, it's just that fucking simple. And so, you know, you're getting a complaint about a fire pit, and then you're claiming, well, that's somehow an emergency. And it's like, no, it's not. Especially when you're considering the fact that you can't even see my backyard from any public easement. So from any lawful vantage point, can you actually see this property? So basically, someone's driving by or someone's walking by, and they see a small amount of smoke lazily drifting in the air, right? Allegedly, I don't even, we don't even know, you know. But this is just speculation, like, as far as, you know, what was said, and, you know, we have to get that in discovery, right? But, you know, I'm gonna infer that it was probably someone driving by or walking by. Maybe they saw a little bit of smoke or something, and then they said, oh, can't do that, right? Someone complained about it or whatever, right? So, of course, they can't actually physically see the fire pit, so they don't know where the smoke's coming from, but they know that there's really not a whole lot, right? It's just a minuscule amount. That's what the fire report says. Lazily drifting in the air, right? So there's no wind. It's just kind of, just a little cloud, and you're like, okay. You can't see it from any lawful vantage point, so you're like, okay, but then they're somehow claiming that it was an observable emergency or fire hazard, right? But then they, I'm like, they just can't make their mind up, right? In their argument, right? They call it 3 different things. Then they say it's got the possibility of rekindling, right? A fire that has the possibility of rekindling, and I'm like, well, that doesn't sound like a fire at all. If it could possibly rekindle, that means it's currently not kindling, which means that it's currently not a fire. So it's even less. And then, of course, they knock, but then they say they don't have to knock. They don't need permission, but they try to get permission, which is weird. And then when they go to the back, do they immediately run and start extinguishing the fire? No. They kind of joke and laugh, and then they grab a bucket from my pool, and they just kind of dump it. One little small bucket, right? Like a quarter of a gallon of water, and that was it. That was the emergency, right? And you're like, huh? And we're talking about a smoldering log inside of a metal fire ring, right? So you're looking at it, the whole thing, and you're like, yeah, there's no emergency here. There's no exigency. There's no open fields. Certainly no open fields. They don't want to acknowledge that it's curtilage because that kind of isn't so positive for them, right? So they're just they're basically making an argument. It's not even a search or a seizure because we weren't looking to search for information. And I go, am I fucking high, or are these people like just, disingenuous as you can get? You're at my front porch and you haven't seen my fire pit. You're knocking on my door. I withhold consent. And then instead of leaving like you're lawfully supposed to, you decide to go around to the backyard and extinguish my fire pit for me. But then you're saying it's not a search or a seizure. And it's like, I get it. You got to advocate for your client or whatever. You got to fight for your client. But that's just fucking retarded, guys. You understand? Like, okay, you walk into the backyard to assess the fire pit, but then you say you weren't searching for information. And it's like, okay, like, already got a stroke, but go on, right? Try to continue. And then it goes into, and it's not a seizure either because they didn't take anything. And I'm like, okay, well, a search is when you're looking to obtain information, when you're in a constitutionally protected area, and you're looking for information. You're there in a constitutionally protected area without permission. That by definition is a search, right? So of course it's a search, right? They're trying to make a play on words, or I don't know, try to redefine words, or maybe they're hoping that the judge is hungover and lost all their brain cells the night before, and they just, I don't know what the strategy is exactly, but that's what they argue. And then they say it's not a seizure, and I'm like, okay, so it's not a seizure, but you altered the condition of the fire pit. You made it inoperable, right? You made it inoperable. I have a possessory interest to have a fire pit. This fire pit that you guys approved, by the way. So you're like, okay, you guys approved it, I use it, and then you break in and violate my rights because I used it. Okay, that's kind of, I don't know. I don't know the exact legal theory off the top of my head, but that is not how it works. Let me just put it that way. That seems kind of like a estoppel type of, some sort of government estoppel, is kind of what I'm, I guess, that's my first instinct, if you will, right? But no, it's just absolutely fucking, it's not a search or a seizure, and you're like, oh no, it definitely is. So the reason they're making that argument is because they don't have an argument, guys, because they know they're fucked. just so thankful that the Fourth Amendment has been argued at such an extent that it really, I mean, the groundwork's already there. Groundwork's already there. I mean, it's well established, right? This is all well established. All right, so. And then it gets on to qualified immunity. You know, they're probably the best argument they had. The only, you know, I don't think it's a good argument, but it, you know, basically their argument was there has never been a case like this, right? So they're entitled to qualified immunity, you know, because there's never been a case that says that the fire department can't come on your property to extinguish an observable fire hazard. Again, it's like you don't know it was observable until you didn't observe anything until you already entered the curtilage, right? So at that point, you can't. It's fruit of the poisonous tree, anyways. You know, but you know, a smoldering log is somehow a emergency, or it's a fire safety hazard, or I mean, they called it like 4 or 5 different fucking things. The threat of rekindling, right? It could rekindle, and you're just like, okay, a log that could rekindle, huh, in a fire pit, and you're arguing that is a exigency. Apparently, you're kind of arguing it, but you're not, because you know that's a shitty argument. So what you're doing is basically saying, oh, it's not a search or a seizure, guys, at all, right? It's not even a search or a seizure, which is fucking just insane, right? You can enter someone's curtilage and say it's not a search. It's like, oh no, that's most definitely a search. And extinguishing that bonfire without any sort of, like, you know, due process, or with an exception to the warrant requirement, right? Because you guys, you know, took you 14 minutes, right? So clearly it wasn't any emergency, right? Like, it doesn't take you 14 minutes when you arrive at the scene to start putting out a house fire, right? The fact that they knocked and then they said, oh, we don't even need to knock, we don't even need permission, and it's like, good luck with that one. Good luck with that. So, yeah, that one in front of Judge Grand, good luck with that. But you know, that's just training wheels, right? And of course the flood's coming, so you know, you don't got to worry about that anyways. But this is just the training wheels. This is to kind of, you know, see what all they got argument wise, right? What all they gonna deploy, right? Because it's interesting, right? The city of Wayne used that, you know, open burn policy against me, well, 4 times after that. They passed an ordinance, 2025-02, but then they argue, oh yeah, well, we had the authority under the International Fire Code. International Fire Code trumps the Fourth Amendment. Code trumps law, I guess. Well, code is not law. This isn't Ethereum Classic, guys. So code is not law. Ordinance can be law only if it is subservient to the real law, the Constitution, whether it be the state or the federal Constitution. Because the state Constitution is supposed to just be really a mirror image, an enhancement mirror image of the federal Constitution. So, again, I don't know. I don't speak retard, and I don't understand it either very well, so I'm trying to understand it, but again, I don't really speak retard. I don't speak retard, and I don't intend to learn it, but it's what we're dealt with, guys. A conundrum that we are dealt with and unfortunately brought to your house, right, against your will, you know, summoned to your house. right, to your property, to your fucking domicile. So, unfortunately, we have to deal with it, right? I can't just avoid my home, right? I mean, I can't just, well, I guess I could, I guess, I might have to go into hiding or something eventually, just because it's, I'm being exiled out of Wayne anyways. So I don't know. I mean, but as of right now, right, in the foreseeable future, I don't have the luxury of just like not going home, right? Just to be like, yeah, I'm just, I can just avoid, because it's like you can avoid certain places in public and, but not all places, right? You can't avoid all places in public, but you can avoid certain things, right, at certain times, but you can't avoid your home, right? It's your home, so, I don't fucking know. I don't know what's gonna happen, guys, but I fear it's gonna be catastrophic or life, well, it's already been life altering, but life ending, right? I hope it's not a life ending, but that's kind of where my good faith, educated hypothesis, right, based on everything I know, right, based on everything I've seen, I think that's probably gonna be the next step, is they're gonna try to kill me. So they effectively already have tried to kill me, right? Keep me in jail on a misdemeanor with no bond, right? With no health care, with no nothing, right? I mean, totally, right? They care about your mental health, but they're going to put you in a jail where you're not going to get any mental health, and it's going to make your mental health worse. And they know that. They know you have a mental health condition, or they speculated on it and said you're a mentally ill person. That's what they called me. So you're like, okay, so I'm mentally ill, so you say, and you decide to prosecute me without any sort of possibility of probable cause, withhold discovery, interfere with my ability to have a fucking speedy trial, right? The whole 9 yards. Force me into a no contest plea on a bond condition violation, because that's, I guess, all you could get, even though that, again, it wasn't a lawful arrest. There was nothing lawful about it. So, that's kind of where we, and then of course there's no arrest warrant, no indication of how the police even know about the bond conditions. I mean, the whole thing just smells fishy as fuck, which again, it's all coming to light. Like I said, it's all coming to light, because it's just getting too big to ignore, and too many breadcrumbs that we have, how do I say, uncovered, that we've gathered, right? We've gathered too many breadcrumbs, and it's just like we have a fucking cookie. We have a whole pan of cookies at this point. And so, again, I don't know, like, I don't think, like, for the city of Wayne, right, they're voted to like, let's get some new council, right, and maybe they're gonna get, it'd be smart if they got rid of, the city attorney having prosecuting authority, right? That would be very wise decision, right? To not allow for the city to be able to maliciously prosecute somebody at all. If you just get rid of it and go, okay, we're gonna turn this over to like a neutral prosecutor, Wayne County, right, or something, then that makes more sense, right? But I don't think switching teams is solving the problem. I don't think, like, they think, oh, we'll just get new counsel, and it's like, yeah, Kerry Miller and Michael Bosnick are dog shit, worst attorneys I've ever seen in my life, but they're also being asked to defend pure evil, and they're being asked to defend the undefendable, right? And so it's like, how much of it is really them being incompetent, more as it is they're just like, they're trapped, they're limited on what they can fucking do, other than, well, do the right thing and call it out for what it is, and refuse to represent the person, right? That would be, that probably, I don't know, there's been some sort of falling out between Bosnick and Miller and GMH, and it's just, there's nothing to there's no way you can justify it. I mean, the city of Wayne department heads are dog shit. They're dog shit people. They're dog shit individuals. They're dog shit at their job. They are just bona fide grade A wiener stiff dog shit, right? I mean, they are rock hard, solid to the core dog shit. And you know, the shit stain from Wayne, John Racy, is not, you know, obviously helping anyone out, but he's helping me out, believe it or not. You know, if he keeps making really retarded ass comments like he's been doing, then go ahead, buddy, keep talking, you know, because every time they fucking talk, right, they don't even know what to do. They, you know, they're idiots. But outside of that, though, I mean, they're evil idiots. And you know, switching the jersey switching your jersey color, City of Wayne, isn't, you know, that's not rebranding, right? That's not a real change, right? You know, saying, oh yeah, we're just gonna we'll hire some new council, we'll waste some more money with we'll waste more taxpayer money, you know, trying to find, you know, better council or new council or additional council, or, you know, it's just like, okay, guys, good luck with that shit. Good luck with that. You know, I would just say, you know, it'd be cheaper and, you know, better in the long term. Just, you know, start having some special meetings, start calling these idiots into public scrutiny, and force them to resign or fire them, right? That would be the better way to do it. Just, you know, or just cut their budget, you know, cut their funding, and there you go, problem solved. And, you know, yeah, you got to make some sacrifices, but, you know, you can eliminate the possibility of liability, right? You can eliminate in its entirety. You can eliminate the possibility of being sued if you don't have idiots employed by you to, you know, potentially get the city sued, right? I mean, this isn't rocket science, guys. Never was. It's just, you know, people refusing to accept reality, refusing to accept responsibility for their actions. And I don't know. I just hope I hope for the city's sake that, you know, we can figure something out. Because, yeah, it is a real travesty what has occurred in Wayne, Michigan the last decade. The last decade has just been completely and totally and utterly disgraceful on so many different levels. I mean, we're not talking just one level or two levels or three levels. I mean, we're talking just systemic dog shit, right? So systemic dog shit has led to these, you know, these sort of issues that we're forced to now confront. And, you know, I was just a catalyst to get the conversation started. And I very much so yeah, all I ask, thank me for my service, send me a salute, buy a pair of shoes, and we'll be all good, guys. We will be all good. But regardless, I mean, I'll be all good either way.
It's not the boys, getting Christina to register 2, thank you.
Da 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 da. What poison ivy killer, oh boy. I did that shit last year. Insect control, weed and grass killer, huh? Okay. Weed and grass killer. Well, I kind of want that. Kind of want to kill both, honestly. Got some spots. Where the fuck's the Little wand thing. There we go. There we go. We need the little gun thing, bro. Gotta have the gun, son. I don't know what the fuck that is, but I don't know, man. It's Ollie's. You never know what you're gonna get at this fucking place. We gotta really look it over. But you can get some good deals time to time. You know, but yeah, sometimes the shit ain't put together all the way, or you know, just depends, man. But yeah, that should work. Weed and grass killer, big old juggerer. Yeah, when I was sitting in jail without bond for a law that I couldn't even have possibly did or committed, right? I couldn't have a crime, right? A crime that I couldn't have possibly committed because there was no crime to commit. Yeah, needless to say, my lawn care, you know, kind of had to take a, I don't know what's the word, a little bit of a back seat, right? A little bit of a back seat, and yeah, that's just kind of how it works sometimes, right? When you're fighting for your life, guys, you know, you don't always get to retractable rake, huh? That's kind of hot. That's kind of hot, guys, but this one's even hotter. Ooh, ooh, baby. I like it. I like it. I like it. Cool. I'm gonna have to grab this fucker. Ollie's, baby. Get you a little rake, a little hand rake, so you don't have to get the big rake. You know, trying to plant a flower. You know, you're already down there. You just scoop, done. Probably won't use it much, but you know, it's all good.